I'm going to take a chance and do part 3 right now. I just now shut off the one and started to get up and check on some stuff, but I'm going to do part 3 now. And hopefully these record, download. For some reason, Facebook and YouTube have given me trouble with any video over 15 minutes or 20. Used to be that you could do an hour video, even more, and download, but now it's not working. The downloads aren't not going on. So maybe it's good for me to get practice. But part 3, this is part 3 of real Black history. Okay. And so I'm a white guy. Yeah. And I'm beige. I call myself, I'm European American. From my lineage is modern lineage. My lineage is Adam and Eve. It's Noah's family from the flood. And I actually forget, is there Sam, Shem, and Japheth? And I forget which one, if I'm from Japheth's line or Shem's. I've studied Ham more than my own. But you have, but I think I'm Japheth. Shem may have gone eastward more than southward. And I think Japheth went, but it could be the other way around. I think Japheth would be Europeans. I'm not sure. Partly, that's part of it. Russian and European, maybe. I don't know. But which one would be the Jews, though? Japheth, maybe. I don't know. So that's a study I hadn't thought of. But you have, so Black history, real Black history, which is true Black history. I'm a truth teller. I'm a truth lover. I'm a Christ lover. I'm a reality lover. I'm a heaven lover. I don't want people going to hell. I don't want people going to a non-existent heaven, which ends up being separation from God. And the definition of hell, by the full definition of it, that's the core, is separation from God for eternal life. If you chose against Christ's heaven, you don't go to Christ's heaven. And so you have to trust Christ, and you got to denounce all false gods in order to truly be on Christ's side. And they don't have any evidence of heaven. None of them. None of them have any proven evidence of heaven. Christ does through resurrection power. All right, so true Black history, we're all brothers, sisters, cousins, and all that from Adam and Eve. And so I'm trying to think right where I left off on the last video. And that's why I continued, and I can't remember. But don't worry, I'm going to start elsewhere and navigate into it. So you got the prison system has been influenced by picking on, and the reason they pick on by picking on Black people, Democrats picking on Black people, they did not celebrate. They should be, here's his point. They should be celebrating on Black History Month. They should be celebrating freedom from slavery, right? And by the way, that's not the only thing they should be celebrating. Because Black history is not about slavery. It's like what I just said. It goes back to Adam and Eve, right? So you have, but what they're doing is they've used Black history to cover up Abraham Lincoln's birthday. So whether I said that in the first video is irrelevant. I want to repeat that. We should be celebrating Abraham Lincoln's birthday. We should be celebrating Abraham Lincoln ending slavery, outlawing slavery. They've instead tried to change it and say he didn't outlaw slavery because he wanted to. They're saying all this stuff and teaching it in the schools and twisting the story. The truth is, yes, he did want to end slavery. He didn't believe in slavery. He was against slavery. His for 100 years or 70 years or whatever, his mentor, John Quincy Adams Jr., I think. I don't know. It was one of the I think it was John Quincy Adams Jr. Not versus Senior. He was the biggest abolitionist in the whole that we can talk about, really, who worked on ending slavery the whole century during the 1800s, and he wanted Lincoln to do that. So Lincoln, why would Lincoln make a friend with that guy, huh? Because he was for slavery? No, he was against slavery. So he could have easily united the states and made the whole United States support slavery. He did the opposite, all right? So if you want to say he was only about the Union and nothing about slavery, that's not true. He was probably more about slavery. I think he was more about ending slavery than he was just making the Union. He was about both, obviously. He wanted us to be united. But I bet I'm quite sure from all the studies I've done that his drive, he was driven to want the Union to do away with slavery. That was probably one of his biggest motivations, you know. So, but, and it's to get rid of Britain. And so we'd all be united against Britain trying to take over because everybody fled here for freedom. That's what, you know. So you have, we'll mention Indians again. There weren't that many Indians. You look at today, we can walk through the woods today between cities, and you're going to wish you had a car because there's so much open land and woods still. Back then, there was way more. So, and they did not have a united country. They had no border. You know, they had just they did have a border for their little piece of lands. It wasn't tiny, but, you know, they might have 50 miles or something. I don't know. Less than that, probably 30 miles. I don't know about the specs on that. Some of them had more than that. Some had less. And they would, that was tribal though, only for their tribe, right? Or for their Cherokee Nation or Sioux Nation. So there were probably branches of tribes for Cherokees. That's not my study here, but I'm being a realist here, a realist. So you have, where I did leave off, I think was that, part 2, is that, the effect of the criminal prisoners being brought as slaves. And so I don't know for sure that Britain wanted to destroy American freedom. So I don't know for sure that he brought the POWs, prisoners of war, as slaves to America, or if they purposely brought criminal slaves to make it hard on America. Because I don't know if there was a scheme there, but there could have been. I'm just speculating. There could have been a scheme to where he brought the prisoners, the criminal prisoners, right? And so when you see, a lot of times when you see pictures of somebody hung back then, it was because a criminal. This is certain. I mean, I'm sure that a criminal, a killer, one of the slaves who were an active murderer type, killed. He hated a good slave, a well-behaved slave. That was a POW type for being friendly to the slave masters, you know. So it's similar to today. Some things back then happened where they also attacked slave masters and fought them. And that's some of the ones that would be hung, because white people got hung too. They won't show that. You can find, I guarantee it, maybe they've destroyed them now, but I guarantee you there were way, back in those days, way more pictures of white people being hung than there were of slaves. Because first of all, they had the capability of taking pictures at the official hangings that went to court. So they'd go to court and they wouldn't give much time. I do believe in mercy and not always having the death penalty, but I do support the death penalty. We should have the death penalty, right? And so that's another point. This is part of the Democrats' influence. They've used black people that go to the death penalty, and they've used racism to claim, go against the death penalty. But the truth is, they're mobs. They'll kill people for stuff that's not death penalty worthy, for just talking sexual or something when they're give them drugs. They want to kill them for those kind of things. So you have. That's not death penalty worthy. But they do that all the time. Mobs kill people all the time. The Democrat mobs today kill people all the time for something that's not death penalty worthy. What's death penalty worthy is an eye for an eye. Somebody who murdered somebody is death penalty worthy, and it should be on the table. But they don't want, so they're playing games. They're using black people to play the game, the prison game. And we should have safe prisons. We should have prisons that are for people to rehab. So the whole prison system is affected by this, by bearing false witness against your neighbor and lying about who's racist. They've done all kinds of tricks under this. That's why I can just keep getting lost on a rabbit trail here. But it's good facts to know. Look, they got to fix this. They got to fix this. They need to do this. And there are very fixable things and very key things that we can fix to help black communities know that they're allowed to believe in Jesus if they want to. That's the main thing. That's the biggest thing they need to know. And but that they need to know that you can't support both Islam and Christ. You can't do it. And white people need to know that too. And Asian people need to know that too. And Hispanic people need to know that too. And Arab people need to know that too. But Democrats are trying to steal speech because that's how you make a slave. You steal and hide the truth from them. They're not going to let many people see my video, but I don't look at it as all vain loss because they're blocking all my viewership on Facebook and YouTube now, even, I guess, because I'm not getting many views. Usually you post a certain time of day, and I haven't got that down pat, but I've posted enough videos during different times of day, and some days I would get, in the first day or two, 2,000 views. And all of a sudden, now that they've gotten to know me, I like do it pretty regular, and it's like I got 0 views, 0 views. They didn't even they made sure that my video didn't make it to the main, where people see stuff, that's what they've done. At least they've let me keep it up and stuff for now. But they don't want you to know the truth. They're connected to the Democrat Party. And some of them are just not even that connected, but these assessors are brainwashed. So you got brainwashing, you got psychological warfare, and that's part of what that is. So Democrats have used black people being falsely discriminated against. They've discriminated against them by falsely discriminated against them by making them think that there's thousands of white racists against them, and the same was they're lying. They're actually lying and telling they're calling all the people racist who will help them, who would have helped them. And now, but there's so many black racists now that, like, if a white person is to help a black person in a lot of cases, not always, but in a lot of cases, they're like, I don't want help from a white man. We don't need no white man helping us. That's what they say to Republicans and Christians, independents like myself. Some of them now, but that's not the most common thing. But it's it's an annoyance, I'll tell you. But it's like because they block other people from they hurt other black people who would be seen talking to me. Those types do so. And a lot of time, that's influenced by an Islamic group, Farrakhan. So he had a Million Man March, so in 1990 something. So I think 90, I forgot what, but it's 90s. They had the Million Man March on Washington. That's all black Muslim racist. They were marching for racist reasons, and they're falsifying racism, helping the Democrat Party. So that group there is probably mostly descendants, or at least taught by the slave masters in Africa who were connected with Islam. And they are not slave descendants. No, they're not regular migrants. No, some of them could be. Some of them may have gone to prison for I still can't think of that word, for frivolous, or I don't know, unimportant drug law stuff. Now, I'm not saying drug laws are unimportant, but we got the wrong laws, and we got. You got to be regulated. You need to have a license and have your products tested and regulated for poison and consistency and price gouging, and make sure you're not using segregation of those laws to enslave people and extort people and those kinds of things, right? So, but Democrats have put, Republicans are not innocent on this either, but I think Republicans are dumb for the most part on this, ignorant. And they believe drugs are of the devil. So they believe, like, they say people go out and spend all their money on drugs. If they did, they'd die from overdose on their first $30 worth. Is the truth. If you had pure drugs and all that, they'd be dead of overdose. And so there's a thief network. It's a whole thief business now. And the Democrats have put it into that. And they've snuck terrorism groups. It's like a lot of the gangs are like terrorist groups. And so they lie, and then they lie about KKK and being big, and that doesn't hardly exist today. And the white supremacy doesn't hardly exist today, except through what the Democrats are doing. The real white supremacists are the Democrats playing all these tricks on prison. So that CNN, MSNBC, them lying about who's racist, and still promoting evolution, which is racist, and still promoting Islam, because they know Islam has shut the mouths of black people up, and who want to go the right way, the neighborly way. They shut them up, right? And then, so not completely though. Look, so it's not completely. We've all fought to be able to have our right to speak and educate properly. So they've done it through the public schools. They're using now transgender stuff and making teaching porn and everything, to young kids in schools, and then they act like they're lying and calling you a transphobe, let's see. I don't know. Forget the homosexual phobia. I forget their words they use, but I'm transphobic maybe. But anyway, they're playing all the same games. They're same. So now you see, like with Black Lives Matter, to me that looked like Black Lives don't matter more than Black Lives do matter. I mean, but that was, and it was that's what it was. They were helping the black criminals still make slaves out of black people, and that's what they did. They had, I mean, it's on video and that, but it's a lot of too many black folks, even in the Christian church, who are fake Christians. A lot of them are just fake Christians, apparently. If they would not stand against the videos where a person attacked the police, is fighting with the police, and then they end up getting killed. You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to fight the police. Nobody is. There's always a risk of getting killed if you fight the police. White, black, Asian, doesn't matter. Black on black, black police, black person fighting the police. But the people that they always augment it. Now, of course, sometimes they augment. There is some innocent, accidental stuff that happens. If you got a kid pretending like he's going to shoot a cop, the cop doesn't know if it's a real gun or not. And you're sitting there acting like that's all the police's fault. That's an accident. Wish it didn't happen. It's the kid shouldn't have done that, first of all. And you're not teaching any kids they shouldn't do that. You're siding completely against the police, just to hate on America, just to hate on our system of freedom and everything else. And some of them are doing it for that. Some of them do it because they're racist. They think the police is a white organization. The police is an organization to help protect your property and everybody else's private rights to property in this country. That's what the police are for. And so you're trying to make the Democrats, higher ups and all that, they're trying to make people forget that's what the police are for. And they're lying. They want more police. They don't want less police. They want more police. They want bully police. They want police that act just like the drug cartels, just like the bullies in the street. That's the kind of police they want. They want the same kind they're pretending, falsifying that these police were. And so these police weren't, in these cases, weren't bad police, but they were having to fight for their life, And the people, most cases, like one of the cases, one guy was a guy who pulled a gun on a pregnant woman and had a gun to her belly to kill her and the baby, to rob their house. And he's one of the ones that ended up dying from police custody, and probably from a fentanyl overdose. And I don't remember. There's been so many cases. There's one from years ago, Hands Up, Don't Shoot. That guy, he was on top of the police and the police driver's seat, reaching for the police's gun, has his fingerprints on the police gun, the blood finger, and the police shot him. And that's where they came up with Hands Up, Don't Shoot. Was it when he was going for the police gun, where his hands up? No. And Obama reviewed that case. That went all the way to the federal court. They reviewed it, and then they didn't come out and they let the Hands Up, Don't Shoot just still continue without saying what really happened. So the Democrats they're for communism. I don't know Obama's motives. Now he supports Islam. Everybody acts like that's racist. They're lying. You know why? Because there's maybe a larger Islamic black population than you think. They know he supports Islam. I'm not going to say that's his favorite one, but he does support silencing Christians with Islam and silencing the United States of America with Islam. So it doesn't mean but he does seem to actually like Islam too. But you can't and then he also claims Christianity, right? And so everybody's saying, how dare you? You're just being a racist by saying he's with Islam. No, he supports Islam. He does it. And more than he does Christianity. He pretends to do both. But that's kind of new age claim. But you're not going to heaven. Obama's not going to Christ's heaven. No, he hasn't denounced Islam. You have to denounce Islam to go to Christ's heaven. You have to denounce all false religions, all antichrist religions. How do you support all religions that hate Christ, claim that you believe in Christ somewhat? And he never claimed it all the way. He's claimed it somewhat. But you don't, even if he claimed it all the way, and he's not the only one. Biden, maybe. Most of the Democrat leaders. You can't support the Democrat Party and really believe in Christ. You don't want to be in a party that predominantly is against Christ if you believe in Christ. Sorry. And now that maybe there's some people that are in it and don't realize that. And so I'm preaching to a lot of black people I know right now that went to religious colleges even, who still vote Democrat And the Democrat Party hates Christ. Everything about every law they put into place hates Christ. Every law they put into place. So why are you supporting the Democrat Party? I mean, not because you love Christ. You hate Christ. You support everybody who hates Christ, making it to where we're not even allowed to talk about Christ. We're not even allowed to talk about how to get to heaven. We're not even allowed to contest Jehovah's Witnesses. They'll block us most of the time, right? So, I mean, we got enough news organizations and things now to where you can do that. We may be able to beat, we still may have another revival before the end of the world. The biblical prophecy has been true for everything that's going on in Israel right now. So, by the way, where's all the Hebrew black groups that go around saying that they're the real Jews? Where are they right now? Why don't they claim they're the real Jews right now while Hamas is attacking and killing all the Jews? It's because they're not the real Jews. I mean, they're just not. Now, there's been some black Jews before. There's been white Jews. There's been probably even Asian Jews, Indian Jews for sure. And because Asians live a little further away, so there might not have been too many Asian Jews specifically, but blacks would be Jews by marriage or, cousins or something like that. But really, I'm pretty sure it is what you see is what you get. I think most black people are from Africa, and if the ones in Jamaica came from Africa, the ones in Haiti came from Africa, the ones in America came from Africa, the white people in America came from Europe, the Indians that were already here, they got here on a boat. They got here on a boat just before everybody else, right? And their skin, to describe scientifically how they got their skin tone, it's medium. It's a medium skin tone, medium brown, right? So is Asian people. By the way, some of them, they came through as Eskimos and all. Some of those migrated from Asia across the water up there. But so you have Hispanics, but Spanish language comes from Spain, Italy, maybe some Italian, some related to Italian. But so, I mean, it is what it is. We didn't take and switch. Hey, this whole switch. There's no switch. With Africa didn't switch with Europe, and so we don't. It doesn't matter what color Christ was, his skin tone. That doesn't matter. And the color that they describe in Revelation, a lot of the racist blacks today want to say, they're still trying to say now that Jesus is black, and it doesn't matter, first of all. But it'd be nice to know specifically the truth, but Jesus didn't tell us. He wasn't worried about it. But Revelation talks about coming with golden and bronze color, and they're trying to say, see, he was black. Well, that's not his physical body. He's coming in a glorified body, a heavenly body, and that's not brown. It's not brown, bronze. It's similar to brown. It's gold. It's gold, silver. It's precious gem colors. It's not human color. It's not a human color, and they're trying to say he's black. Well, and I wouldn't care if he was black. I mean, if he is, you're going to try to say white people can't get saved or whatever. Only black. That's what the Hebrews say, by the way. I've heard them preach it out in. I've been somewhere in Florida once. I was out there and they're feeding people, and they're saying no white man will ever go to heaven. Only black people can go to heaven. So they've changed that message a little bit. I guess they got canceled maybe at some point for going around doing that. And I was around some black folks who was like, we don't believe that. That actually, the first time I've ever seen a black person stick up against racism against whites. Really, honestly, that's the first time ever, and the last time. Still haven't. I don't see it, But even Dr. Tony Evans, used to be one of my favorite preachers. Used to be, I say. I still like his speaking. I do. My favorite seems to be more on point to me for what's helpful to me. It's Dr. Tony Evans. He'll talk about the roles of men and women, and to me that's elementary, but a lot of people need it. But and sometimes it's overplayed too. I don't want to focus on my role as a man. I want to focus on my role as a human. So it's not under God, that is. So Tony Evans, there's some things I didn't like that I've heard him do, and it's because you've heard him talk about racism, white racism, and he's never stuck up against black racism. So come to find out, that's not probably been brought to his attention. And maybe he doesn't know. He's hearing the media, apparently hearing Democrat media and hearing that white people are racist, especially white Christians. And Christians, no real Christian is a racist. Anybody who's sincere about believing in Christ is not a racist. Christ does not teach racism. So if it's a Christian that acts racist, they're not following Christ. I only got 5 minutes left, and 30 minutes might be too long for this video to download. I might have to have a part 4. So you have, I hope the first one's download, or I do the entire thing over. But I'll learn at least to do it, maybe do part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in 20-minute segments. So you have, so I keep going down. There's domino effect of all these lies. And so that should be our law. So when I get into studying drug laws, how we can fix the drug situation, nothing's going to be perfect, but it would be way better than what it is now. And it'll keep drugs out of children's faces and stuff. And so I've been accused when I was first studying and trying to find the solution. I know what they're doing is wrong. The system is wrong now. And, but I've been able to pinpoint it now. And I knew in hindsight after going into the studies, I've studied the real life. And, you're affected, you're confused because you're affected by being a part of the culture and everything else. And I'm not saying that's why I had some, experimental issues I shouldn't have done, technically shouldn't have done. And, but I was never an addict. I was never a person, I don't consider myself an addict, never did. I was a person you could say was a binge, at worst was a binge smoker, but I could lose my whole mind and life and money and everything in one day. But that's because of the thieves. That's not because, it's because of people poisoning the drugs, dude. I mean, it's good medicine. I'm not the type to take a medicine on my own. And I've had some physical issues throughout life, and I've experimented with herbs, natural herbs, and studied health and nutrition and the best things. I'm a scientist in a sense on that, not at the chemical level, not the chemical formula level, but I'm a scientist, biologist type person. I do have that aspect. I'm interested in the body, how to be healthy. I'm a nutritionist, so I'm against being addicted to coffee. Now I have been addicted to those things. True addiction, but I've never been addicted to a street drug to where I need it daily. I've gone out one day and I'm tired of it after one day. I can't stand it anymore. I don't want to give my mind to the devil, and it could go to the devil pretty quick on some of that stuff, especially if you're rushed and doing it too fast. So, but that's what the system does, and I forget the point before that why I went into that, but they have, it's got to come back to me. So but I have experience, but I've studied how to improve the laws, and it matters. So let me go on because I got 2 minutes left. So I didn't want to end on that, but got to end it pretty quick here and do a part 4. So you have this domino effect, and whether I don't know that their target was pure racism against black people when they do all this. It's definitely a mixed motive that they do want slavery back in the form of communism. They do want the New World Order, and they want to, I don't know who they expect to be the leader, because they all want to be the leader when it comes to that. They're all going to be part, or at least part of the leader group, because they want to make the whole world their slave. The entire world. That's their goal. They want to enslave the entire world and then be able to kill whoever they want to. So they do it now. They falsify that, but they do use the black culture to falsify being against the death penalty. If they're not against the death penalty, they're for killing anybody they want, anytime they want. And they want to keep the murderers alive in jail to ruin the prison systems and to be able to have a murderer army. They release them and have a murderer army, and they've proven that. I mean, this is not a conspiracy theory. They do it. They do it. And I've run into all these murderers in the streets. I've been able to talk peace with a lot of them, because they're not in. A lot of them aren't in on the scheme themselves, but some are. And they're in with understand what's going on and doing it on purpose. But I'm going to end in 30 seconds. And so, yes, black culture has been a pawn of the white supremacist Democrats. And that's another thing I got to start calling them. Is call it out where it is. The Democrats are the white supremacists. And They can lie and make a small white supremacist group pose as a Republican group or independent, and that's not the case. The real white supremacy is what they're doing with all their lies, and getting rid of the freedom culture. Christianity created the freedom side of America. You got to admit there's two sides to America, back then and now, and so to tie in my last point and go to 31 minutes, that the point I didn't quite finish is that you have to admit that there were some bad slaves. If you're a slave, you're supposed to be a good slave. I'm not promoting slavery, but you should wait patiently for your wife's sake and kids' sake, if you have kids and all that. You should try to get freedom when the time is right, in the right way. But you don't sit there and fight and hate everybody around you. There's a lot of even in slavery, there's a lot of slave masters that got along with the slaves and vice versa. Some of them turned it almost into a family situation, literally. And they don't want you to hear that. The guys they want to call me a racist for saying that is a fact. I mean, it's just the way it is. You had some that were treated well and and then you have people that helped the people that didn't believe in it. They would buy a slave to give them their freedom, right? And tear up the contract and get them freedom. But they weren't going to buy it for their murderers. They weren't going to buy it for the bullied murderers that were hurting people, killing other slaves, killing slaves, trying to kill slave masters. And so a lot of the hangings you see, pictures you see, are slave masters. Is when a slave murdered somebody. So it's not always the case. There was definite abuse, definite racism in the end, but part of that developed. It wasn't because I know I've met some real racists in the last few years, real ones. I've never met them before, but through some getting out and learning the inner cities and all that, I've met some white racists. I mean, I've met plenty of black racists, right? But I've only met a few white racists, and they had even the Nazi tattoos and everything, and but they got along with black people who don't steal. Their racism was all focused on the ones that steal and stuff. We don't deal with those, and they're racist against them. But this black, and I'm like, hey, you're talking to a black guy. I'm like, oh well, he's cool. He doesn't steal. He's cool. He doesn't do anything. And so I think it was probably like that back then, and it's a lot of the animosity towards the black culture wasn't from pure straight racism. It was from that culture that was brought here probably by Britain, but definitely was sent here by Africa. That was this thief culture, and it had the serial killers, and you had those guys, and they weren't under normal law. So how did they make them behave? They didn't have a prison system for slaves, I guess. I don't know how that worked. So there was probably a lot of fighting back and forth, and that was started by the slave, not by the slave master. And so I'm just saying they're lying. Bottom line, my point to that is they're lying because right now black people are taught to hate all white people. And even by what I'm saying, I'm not allowed to say it, but I'm telling you the truth here. This is the truth. And I would get killed on the street for even mentioning slavery. And you know why? Those guys know what they're doing. They either hate me so bad, they've already decided I'm responsible for slavery, according to them, or they just they want to be the boss and make sure I have to be their slave. I can't speak. I am their speech slave out there, and I'm not allowed to speak. And I'm always, in every case, if I've been through the shelter system and all, I'm never allowed to speak, ever. I had a neighbor who was claimed to be Freddy Krueger once. It's Freddy Krueger's boyfriend, and did all kinds of things. I don't know his name still because he didn't speak to me the whole time. He was my neighbor. He attacked me in the restroom, and I started telling him, you don't know who you're messing with. I didn't touch him back. He stabbed somebody, according to him, 20-something times before. But I think what he was trying to do was get me to put my hands on him. He was like, get out of here. He had me up against the wall. I was against the wall, trying to put my shaving into my backpack, and without dropping anything or toothbrush or whatever. And he comes up behind me and puts his arms all around me, not touching me, but all surrounded me and saying, get out of here, to the top of his lungs. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out. Get out. Get out. Like he's demon possessed. And I'm ignoring him. And I'm just let him know, look, man, I said, you don't know who you're messing with. I'm Samson. I'm like, Samson, you don't know who you're messing with. Superman. I might have said Superman. But then he starts arguing back and forth, and he's saying, I'm Freddy Krueger. I say, I'm Samson. He's saying, I'm Freddy Krueger. I'm Samson. And So, but what he was trying to do was the person he stabbed 20 something times, he said they put their hands on him. And he stabbed, he was trying to get me to put my hands on him so he could get away with stabbing me. And didn't do it. And I surprised him. And, but I wasn't scared of him either because I do feel like I'm stronger than most people. I know I am. So he's, I'm not going to say I'm the best fighter. I'm just strong. But I do know what my strengths are and how to fight, wrestle, instead of punch and all that. But I know how to run somebody over if I have to. I know that from football and stuff like that. But you have, that doesn't mean I can win, but I would, I'd give it a good effort if I had to. But I didn't. I avoided it at all costs. I know about knives and this. I want to see tomorrow because I wanted to make this video, frankly. So, yeah, but anyway, we went out of there and he ended up calming down on me and all this. But the point is he's protected by, I'm not allowed to speak because he's black and I'm white. That's what I wasn't allowed to speak the whole time I was there. And he couldn't get kicked out because he has power inside there. He runs the gang. I think the administration's scared of him. I couldn't tell anybody about him doing the Freddy Krueger thing and watching horror movies 24 hours a day, stuff like that. And anyway, then having scissors, showing me his scissors at the end and all this. Well, but he, I got out of there partly because of him. It wasn't all about that. And most people moved out of that section, and the administration still didn't get the memo somehow. But but I stuck it out and stayed in that spot because I didn't know what if I got moved, I'd get somewhere worse, right? So, but the point, I forget the point. But that's stuff is protected, and I would be a racist. I would have been considered racist if I told him. First of all, and he's daring people to snitch on him too. So I couldn't say anything about it. I just stayed out of the place as much as possible and pop in there at 10 p.m. Right before as soon as I fall asleep, I'd try to race to and sleep facing the other way, be asleep before he would try to talk about anything, right? Before he'd show me whatever. So he did other stuff like drop cocaine beside my bed, stuff like that, to try to get me in trouble. But so you got that. He was probably part of a dealing group, right? Hopefully, it'd be good if he doesn't see this video, right? But you have, he was crazier than the rest of them. I mean, he wasn't just, he was more extreme than average, right? So it's not everybody that's like that. But you have to wonder if he's a serial killer, right? You have to wonder those things. And he should be, technically a person like that should be a person of suspicion who's on watch. Because he could be, I know he would meet with people and stuff outdoors, and I would always wonder if he's killing them. But could I say a word about it? No. Would they have listened to me? No, because I'm white. Even the workers, if I had said something and say, you need to watch out. No, they would say, how dare you talk about somebody or this or that. But this guy's extreme, and he's obviously should be watched. And I know some other people told some things about him. They didn't know all that because they didn't stick around long enough to see all that. But anyhow, that stuff is protected by calling somebody racist. And they're protecting criminals. They're not protecting good people. He's probably killing people in the black and white community, possibly. But if he's not, somebody else is, I guarantee you. So I got to cut this off 38 minutes. I may have to do it all over again. I hope I remember some of the points I made next time. Part 4 is coming, perhaps. Adios.